wobbly camera. I'm gonna back up again with my tripod. I keep forgetting where these lights shine on my face and where they don't to try and get myself in the light, right? I am Susan Smith. You are in my studio, Stitched by Susan, and this is day 3 or 4, I think it's 4, of working on a quilted coat. And you can see my long arm rails are empty, which is good news. I've gotten a whole bunch of the quilting done and getting ready to move on to the next step, which is the sewing. So let me give you, I'm just gonna look back through the chat here because I see a comment, a discussion going on, and I wanna see what's happening. Good evening from the Netherlands, Cindy with snow. Step by Step Quilting, hello from Germany, Betsy Ryan in gloomy Southern Ontario. If anyone has seen the sun, can we send it your way? There's no sun in my space today. It's actually a little bit of gentle snow falling today, which is fun. Pamela in Arkansas, hello from Maine. Liz Thibodeau, Pat in cool and windy Ontario, Donna. Cheryl in Alberta, Canada. Betsy, are you going to serge the seams is her question. Great question. Remind me to come back to that, Betsy. I'm just seeing if there's something in here I need to catch. Carol, good morning. Darlene, Erin. Few of you commenting with each other. That's great conversation. Wendy, am I late to the party? No, you're not. It's actually me that's late to the party, Wendy. I was like 2 minutes late this morning. Cindy, well, I hope you're still here. You're wondering about the time, and this is the time. We're here. Okay. Betsy is saying, I, along with 2 other people, waited for over an hour yesterday, well past the designated start time of 12:15 EST. So interesting, Betsy. That does seem like a confusion, right? Because you're saying it did start and then you came back and it had been playing when you exited. I'm sorry. YouTube does funny things to me sometimes, and particularly on my live and unscripted episodes, I sometimes schedule from my streaming program, and then it will change the time on only one of the platforms. So I really apologize for time confusion. I try my best to schedule and to show up on time. That's all I can say. Okay, Sorry about that, you guys, but here we are, we're on. So hello. Again, I'm Susan Smith. You're in my studio, Stitched by Susan. This is live, airing live, and I'm talking once more about my quilted coat. I think this is day 4 with some updates. So a quick overview. I'm making a quilted coat, and I remembered to bring the pattern today, so I'll talk more about it in a minute. It's the swing coat. So a not very fitted, not a lot of seams coat, kind of hangs from the shoulders in an A-line sort of shape. Love it. And my goal is to have some quilted detail on that hem, and then the rest of it just be quilted overall in a floral design. So my initial big picture process was I wanted to quilt the fabric, the coat outer fabric, lots of fabric, then go and cut out that as though it were just one layer of fabric, cut out the coat, and then proceed to sew it as I ordinarily would with a lining, with finished seams, etc. And so that quilted fabric just becomes the outer layer of fabric, right? It's treated all as one layer than what was the quilt. And so often with quilted coats, we see them being made out of what was previously a quilt, and then that's just made into a coat, often a kind of boxy square shape because it's difficult to shape quilted fabric. And I'm approaching it kind of from the other direction. I'm quilting the fabric first and then cutting it up into the coat and lining it. So my lining, by the way, you guys, this is so pretty. Look at this lining. Isn't that gorgeous? It is a lovely polyester. It's got a beautiful drape and feel to it, and it's from Joanne Fabrics. And in my town, in Spokane, they've had it for a number of years. They've carried this same fabric. So a few years ago, I made a child's coat with a red quilted fabric, and this was the lining, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So now I'm making this charcoal gray coat, and I thought the same lining will work beautifully. It's just so pretty. Okay, look at my progress. I actually have a piece, you guys. This is a front, and here's the hem, the border. Can you see that? I'm so pleased with it. So a couple of the steps that happened. Initially, I was going to quilt the whole thing in gray, matching gray thread. You can see the charcoal that's on Stella, my long arm machine behind me. That was the color thread I was going to use. And so the first day when I was on, I had loaded up the quilt, marked that curved hemline, and was starting to quilt that border. And I was finding, number one, it was incredibly hard to see. My gray fabric is a little bit tweedy. I'll give you a nice close-up of it. Right, it's just a little bit tweedy in appearance. That's part of it. Part of it is it's not cotton. It's mostly polyester with some viscose and other things blended in there. I think there's a little bit of rayon too. And so the thread behaves differently on it, rests differently in it. So the quilting, like you couldn't see the individual stitches. You could just see the shadow of the quilting line. And so after I got off air that day, someone made a comment, this would be a great opportunity to use brightly colored threads. And I thought, why did I never think of that? So I spent a lot of day 2, several hours of day 2, undoing that border that I had quilted and coming back to doing it in these red threads. So I'll give you a close-up look at it again because it's kind of ombre. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but toward the top and the bottom edges, it's the darkest, almost maroon red. Then there's a bright red where the circles and bubbles are. And then the center figure 8s, I actually did with 2 threads, a really bright orangey red and a pink, both through my needle at the same time. So it's got this kind of ombre effect, and I'm quite happy with it. So I can't remember the name of the lady that originally commented on the brightly colored thread, but thank you for that great idea. And it was kind of an exercise, this whole process of undoing. I don't very often go backwards in my quilting. I just usually chalk it up to lesson learned, experience, whatever, and keep moving forward, and I'm usually happy with it at the end. But in this case, because I'm creating something for myself that is sheerly for my pleasure and my enjoyment and a fun, creative coat for me, when that idea struck, oh, hey, I could do something fun with colored thread, I thought, it's worth it to me. The quilting is not showing up well enough on the gray. I'm gonna lose that wow factor that I kind of wanted, and it was worth it. So I spent over 3 hours undoing. A little tip for you, you might wanna go back and watch day 2 when I was talking about that, but I'll give it to you quickly. On the back of my coat panels, I've just got this ivory muslin, and you can see that my gray thread shows up, of course, very vividly on that. So I actually rolled my quilted portion far enough that I could see it from the wrong side of my quilting machine, and I did all the undoing from the white side. So I could see the gray thread, and it was far easier to undo. I'd still be here undoing it on the gray side. A couple times when I ran out of bobbin thread or whatever, or something went wrong, I had to undo a little bit from the gray side, and it was very difficult. Very difficult. So that's the quilting. Let's talk a smidge about the pattern because I did promise it. Of course, it's probably backwards. Oh, no, it's not. It's right. Okay, can you see? So the designer is So Chic Pattern Company. The coat is, yeah, it is backwards. Sorry about that. It is the Noelle coat. That's the name right up here. The thing is, you guys, and I wanted to talk a little about this because once upon a time I was a garment sewer and I actually took classes in pattern designing and alterations way back when. We're talking a lot of years ago. Anyway, this picture here is the look that I loved, but it, as you can see, is a graphic. It's not a photograph, and it's a little bit misleading. When I got to the actual pattern, and here's a picture of the coat, it has far less flair in it, and the flair is the thing that I liked. So I actually edited the pattern a little bit, and I'll show you how I did it in case you ever want to do it. So here's a diagram of the coat, and that kind of gives you an idea of the flare, right? It is A-line indeed, but I wanted that hem to really swing. So what I did, let me see if I can find a picture of the pattern pieces. Here we go. And I don't want to give away too many secrets on the thing, but there's an idea of the pattern pieces. And what I did was for the back and for the front pieces, I actually cut. So about the middle of the piece, right up to the shoulder line, I cut a long slit and I just spread those pieces apart. So it's a really easy way. I mean, if you're working on a dress or a skirt and you want the bottom flare to be wider, it's the best way to keep all the other shaping the same. So my shoulder shaping stayed correct. The sleeve is built right into this back. That's all one piece. So it kept that sleeve shape correct as well. So I just literally made a cut right up one side of that back. I mean, and I folded it twice. So in effect, I'm getting it up 2 sides of the back and up each side of the front, and then just spread it apart a little bit to get a little more swing and a little more flare in the hem. And that's all I had to do to adjust that. The trick, of course, is to remember to do it on every single piece. So you wouldn't want to do only the back, for example, and not the front, because your coat would hang. It would have a lot of fullness in the back and less fullness in the front and might not hang as gracefully. The side seams might not hang down straight, etc. So That's a fairly simple fix and something that you can do too if you want to add more to a hemline. So just cut it and open it up a little bit. And I just made a note on my pattern how many inches I did. You know, you certainly could put paper behind it and tape it in place and make it permanent, but who knows what I want to do next time, right? So now my original pattern still exists. I was going to show you guys a pattern piece and I forgot to bring that with me because there is a funny story on the pattern. It is a paper pattern. It's not quite as lightweight as the tissue that McCall's and Simplicity patterns, for example, used to be. It's a bit heavier, almost like parchment paper. And some weeks ago, I was trying to gear myself up to get started on this coat, and I had the pattern pieces out and I was cutting them apart and thinking through my process, and I had them laying on the floor in my quilting room. And my cat came in the room unbeknownst to me, and I went out and shut the door, and he was left in, and he got in a playful mood. Okay, any of you that have a cat know what they can do with their back paws? Okay, well, he did that to all my pattern pieces. Rip, tear, shred, hole. So then I spent the next evening with my Scotch tape roll, flattening everything out and pressing it and ironing it and taping all the bits back into place. So it was pretty funny. He didn't totally destroy it. Like, there was certainly enough intact that I could see the outer edges and it wasn't torn apart. There were just holes everywhere. That was my cat. Yay. Okay, let's see some comments. Oklahoma, Sherry in Colorado, Maria in Australia, awesome. My husband who knows me, yeah, good for him. Colleen in Northern Michigan. Betsy, holy cow, it's beautiful. Oh, I hope so. I hope so, Betsy. Dave wonders if he can get a coat if he does the laundry for a week or two. Bad news, Dave, it takes quite a bit more than that. I was talking with someone yesterday about, someone asked me, would you make these coats to sell? And it's a friend, it was a guy who knows nothing from nothing about quilting, right? He's just saying, oh, well, couldn't you sell these coats? Like, isn't that high fashion? I'm like, well, you could. I don't know that anybody would want to pay what it's worth, but you could. Liz loves the pattern, good. Lynn, the front is gorgeous. Quilting in color, the thread is perfect. I hope so, you guys. It's been a fun process. It's honestly quite a while since I've done something like this, like strictly for fun. There are no expectations. There's not going to be, you know, a lesson or a class out of it or anything like that. It's just for fun for me. And it really is freeing and fun. Oh my goodness. Sandra from Brazil, you often join. Sandra, hello. Kathy in Florida. Marie Suzanne, love what you're quilting. Awesome. One more thing I want to say. I've been trying to sprinkle tips in here as I think of them, of things you want to use. Actually, there's two. Okay, so here's my border again. One of the things that I did, because I had all the pieces, I had my back right in the middle and my fronts on either side. I had all the pieces side by side. I could see them all at once. I took a ruler and measured. Once I had one of these quilted, I started with the back. I measured from top to bottom of my quilted border. And as you can see, there's a lot of lines and divisions, right? And every little tiny difference can add up. So then when I went to measure my side front pieces, I took note of, okay, where's the side seam of the back and then where's the side seam of the front, and make sure that border measurement from top to bottom is the same. So that as best I can, when I'm sewing that seam, I can match up those seam lines. I don't really have any hope that they're all going to be perfect in between, but at least the top and the bottom of that border hopefully will match up perfectly, hopefully. Here's another tip that is kind of part and parcel of that marking. I'm having a hard time picking up my ruler, which is laying here beside me. Okay. What I did first was I marked out the spacing for how I wanted to do that border. I planned it out on a plexiglass audition sheet. You've seen me with those before, and a dry erase marker. So what I was going to do in each of those little border elements and what the spacing was going to look like. Once I had determined that spacing, I brought this is just a regular cutting ruler, so I brought my cutting ruler to it and an actual Sharpie. And I marked, I'm sure you can't see it on camera, but maybe you can if I wiggle. There's little black dots. Can you see them? I marked all my spacing lines semi-permanently onto this ruler. Let it dry, and there's no danger of it coming off on your fabric as you're using this on your quilt. But this enables me then to take this ruler and get the exact measurements and not be worried that I'll get a 1/4 inch line I'll forget, or a 1/2 inch line I'll make 3/4, right? I've got my spacing, and I take this to my coat, and now I drop it in with my fabric marker, okay? I put away my Sharpie, way out of the way. This is a tip I learned from Beth Ann Nemish, and it works slick as anything. So now those markings are in place. When I want to repeat them a few times, they're right there for me. And when I'm done with my coat, I can just take an alcohol swab or just rubbing alcohol on a little Kleenex, and those marks will come right off, and my ruler will be good as new. So it's a great way, both when you have a number of markings like I do on this one, or if you're dividing something into awkward places like 3 or 5, right? And you don't want to have to figure out that math each and every time you've got to mark it. You can drop these things onto any acrylic ruler and it'll stay for the duration of your project, and clean it off with rubbing alcohol. So there's your free tip for today. Was that worth the price of admission? Okay, Kathy is saying she made a similar coat, so enjoying this. Awesome. Anna's loving the quilting. Great. It's been really fun, you guys. It's been really, really fun. And so I've got my back and this one front totally cut out now. If you watched, I think it was yesterday, I was talking about the fact that my span of fabric as a whole was 118 inches wide, which was the absolute limit for what I could load on my quilting machine. And when I came to quilting on the one side, would have been my left side, I found I actually couldn't quilt it. There was a resistance that last inch. I was bumping right up against the rails. My handlebars kept bumping the frame, etc. I couldn't get any kind of precise quilting on that border. So my final decision was I quilted the whole back and the right hand front, and I unloaded the whole thing this morning. I'm cutting out this front, cutting out the back, and then I'll reload that other section. So as I was working my way down, I did baste it in place so that the layers are intact and will stay in place. And now I'm going to attempt to reload it, and I think it will work fine. Reload it and finish quilting that one, just loading it in my frame so I can get at it better. I did start trying the border. I did okay as long as I was doing the ruler lines, but as soon as I started trying to freehand, any amount of resistance just messes with your freehand, right? It just isn't quite right. You can't make a round bubble, for example. And so I had to conclude that's just not going to work. So now I know 118 inches is too big, too big for my quilting frame. Probably 113 or 14 is the max that I can quilt with any level of control toward the edges. So good to know. Something you want to know, right? Okay, any more questions or comments, you guys, before I get back to cutting? That looks like it's it. So again, I'll be coming on live. I don't know that it will be every day the next few days as I get into sewing, but I'll try and do it a few more mornings and keep you posted with the coat as it's happening, because the next steps are basically to sew it like a garment. So I'm going to be lining the whole thing. And I remember one of you asked, was I going to serge the seams? I haven't fully decided. I feel like because they're quilted, I might not want to serge all the layers together and press them to one side. So what I may do is actually serge the perimeter and then sew my seams and press them open, because I feel like I'll get less bulk and seams that lay much flatter. I will, however, serge the lining seams. That makes them so nice and secure, and this poly fabric, you know, tends to fray as polyesters do, and so that will make a nice neat edge on the inside. So that's my current plan. Okay, thank you, yes. All right, so once again, let me just tell you a tiny bit more about my studio. We're on YouTube now. I come on live a couple times a month and live stream a whole quilting project. And it's a little bit like this coat in that it is live, it is streamed live. I don't edit any parts of it out. And so you get to see the process of quilting a project, usually an edge-to-edge design. You know, talk about the basting, talk about the thread choices, talk about the things all the way through. So I invite you, if you're enjoying this episode, to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already to the channel, and if you click the notification bell, YouTube will kindly let you know whenever I am going live. So I'm trying with these coat episodes to put in the time an hour or two in advance. I'm sorry that it was confusing for some of you yesterday and today. I do my best. Anyway, I'm trying to do them about mid-morning Pacific time. So I'll check back in with you over the next few days and into the next week as I'm assembling the coat and hopefully getting to model it for you one of these days. So thanks so much for joining me, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll catch up with you next time.